Hello, we are live. This is Taylor Talks Comics. Thank you for joining me. I am Taylor. This is our weekly show where we go live and chat comics every Wednesday at noon Eastern. What are you guys up to? What's going on in the comic book world? See a couple of people in the chat already. Panels of Pete will not be meeting with us. He's got meetings with other people, but he'll catch the recording. Thank you, Panels of Pete. If you're watching this on replay, don't forget that you can always comment down below. I even reply to those comments after the fact. You don't have to be a part of the live chat to be the only participant. That's not the only way to participate in what we do here. James Abel is in the house with the microphone. He's our moderator. Thank you for joining me. Thought that was Pete and Pete. We need that show again. Oh, that was a great show. I love Pete and Pete back in the day. That's definitely my wheelhouse of Nickelodeon. And a great weird show. That's one of those shows that I watched as a kid that I even knew was weird back then. I'd like to watch it again as an adult to just see how weird it was. I've not watched it since I was a kid. Is that airing anywhere? It's probably on that Paramount Plus, right? That's where all the Nickelodeon stuff is. I don't have Paramount Plus. Yeah, so I am gearing up for a big October for the channel. So if you are into horror comics, then you definitely want to subscribe to the channel now and hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any of the videos, because every day in October, there will be at least one video dropped on my channel covering some sort of horror comic or horror comic related topic. I've been reading nothing but horror comics basically since the summer. I've been trying to gear up for this and prepare videos and that kind of thing. So definitely, if you are into horror comics or just want some horror comic recommendations, then you'll definitely want to follow this space. Love the masks. Yes, these were made. Let me see. They're very, very high quality too. I think if James Abel's still in the chat, he can drop the link for you. But these are made by a guy I went to high school with, and they're very, very high quality. Like, they're super detailed and incredible. These are the three horror hosts though for EC Comics. I got all three of those. And then he also made this little doll too, which is creepy as heck. But yeah, those are the EC horror hosts. Oh, there we go. James Abel with the. I want to go on his website. I haven't been there in a while. Does he still have things up there? Etsy Spooky Brucey. I wonder what he has on there these days. Oh, nice. He has a lot of things. Okay, let's show this off. Take that comment off and then present screen. Yeah, I went to high school with Spooky Brucey here, and he was a real cool guy and just super talented when it came to art. Even like I went to school with him actually all the way through, like from elementary school all the way through high school, and he was always known for drawing like Universal monsters and stuff in class, and super talented artist. Like his art, even from elementary school, blew me away. But here's the three masks there: the Old Witch, the Vault Keeper, and Crypt Keeper. They're just the same as mine, and they will actually have their wall plaques. I got like the early prototype, I guess, so mine don't have any way to hang them on my wall, but I didn't really need them to hang on my wall anyways, because I'm just gonna put them on my shelf over here. I don't really have walls to hang them on down where I'm at right now, where my comic books are at least. There's a Shrunken Head keychain. Here's the Graveyard Dolls. So I have the Old Witch one there, but there's also the Wolfgang. Oh, that's awesome. That's from the Haunted Mansion, the Mansion Ghost. They're handmade to order too. Really, really high quality stuff. Oh, sorry. There we go. There's the Mansion Ghost. And then we have Graveyard Goblin. Oh, we have a coloring book. This probably features a lot of his artwork in there. I wonder if there's some samples here. Yes, there we go. Only $16. I might have to pick that up because I really do like his artwork. Like I said, I have nostalgic memories of him drawing in class and stuff. That's really good. And then it has like a little descriptions. I'm not even sharing this. Sorry. There we go. Here's the coloring book. The Tales of Midnight, which I think was a YouTube show he was doing for a while as well. And there's his artwork. And there's like little descriptions of each monster. And then there's the artwork right there. A little sample for you. So cool stuff. That's Spooky Brucey on Etsy. Thanks for dropping the link, James. Definitely support him. Do you have any recommendations for me, horror wise? Yeah, of course. I've got, like I said, every day in October. Obviously, there'll be videos. But if you want some now, maybe a little preview, a little sneak peek of what I'm going to be going over. Here's one. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? I can never say this title right. Did you hear what Eddie Gein done? This is based on a true story of Eddie Gein, who was the serial killer, cannibal, human monster that had a lot of obsessions. But he is his story or his character or his crimes, I guess, were what was Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lambs was based off of, as well as Psycho, the Alfred Hitchcock movie. I guess the book that was the movie is based off of. And then I'm trying to think what other. Oh, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Those are all those main characters were inspired by the actual real human being of Eddie Gein. This was one I read the other day, which is maybe my sneak peek, my sleeper hit of the summer, sorry, I can't talk today. My sleeper hit of October. This is UFO Mushroom Invasion, and this is a review copy sent to me by Living the Line. They have a new Living the Line is a small independent publisher, but they have a new imprint for manga called Smudge, and they actually just this is their second Smudge release. The first one was Her Frankenstein, and they just announced yesterday what their third's going to be, which we can talk about in a little bit. The UFO Mushroom Invasion is amazing. It's like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, kind of, where this asteroid hits Earth and all these spores, like mushroom spores, sprout out, and then they're like parasites, and they have to find human host bodies. So they take over all these human bodies and become these mushroom monsters that take over planet Earth. I don't know, but there's like it's like classic manga. I think this is from like the 70s or 80s. Trying to see if I can, really cool artwork in there. So it's UFO Mushroom Invasion. Another manga I'd recommend would be H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness, adapted by Go Tanabe. This is the beautiful Dark Horse Deluxe Edition that came out a few months ago, and it is mind-blowing and amazing. This book was one of the best horror comics I've read in a long time. Even has fancy silver gilded edged pages. But just really, really great, especially if you're into H.P. Lovecraft. One that I would, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Whatever I can get my hands on nearby is what I'm trying to grab for you. This is a good one. Dracula. This is by. Sorry. I just got a text. This is Dracula by James Tynion IV and Martin Simmons. This was put out by Image Skybound. They have the license to the Universal Monsters at the moment. And but But Martin Simmons and James Tynion IV are the same team that put together Department of Truth, which I guess is also a horror comic. So those are some recommendations. What are your guys' recommendations? That's what I want to hear. What are you guys reading for October, or your favorite horror comics? Let's talk horror comics today. That's a great idea. Hey, Fonzie's in the house. Thank you for joining me, Fonzie. What are you up to? James got the link. Those are cool. Leatherface, yes, Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You probably beat me to the punch there. So yeah, that's what I've been preparing for you guys. I did get another review copy from Fantagraphics. If you guys want to see that, they sent me just one book this time. It seems like they're going to be sending me the books one or two at a time whenever they start coming out now. But this is Daisy Goes to the Moon, and this is Rick Geary artwork, adapted and illustrated by Rick Geary, and it's from the novel by Matthew Klickstein. Just a slim little volume here. But Rick Geary actually is known for his horror artwork. I don't think you'll see that in this book here. This is not a horror recommendation. This is just a review copy that Fantagraphics sent me that I wanted to show off. And this is not coming out until January. So I got this review copy really early, but it's amazing. I get to read it and prepare ahead of time. Let me see here. Try to see who designed this book. Editorial system production, Paul Baresh. Doesn't say. This is really, really fun artwork in here. I'm excited to read this. I love Rick Geary's artwork. I don't know if you guys have read anything by Rick Geary, but like I said, he has done a lot of horror and maybe like true crime kind of stories. But he has, this one's like very interesting. So here's the description. I guess I should read that. Daisy Ashford, a real-life author, began her career at age 4. As an adult, she found a book she wrote at 9 years old and published it. To great success in 1919, award-winning illustrator and cartoonist Rick Geary turns his pen to the graphic novel adaptation of Matthew Klickstein's novella, written in the style of Ashford's juvenilia. That is, in the style of the most rambunctious little girl from the Victorian era. Little Daisy herself, lured to adventure not by a white rabbit but by a rocket ship, goes on a singularly psychonautic journey through the 1950s pulp science fiction future, where she will encounter many-eyed monsters, a time traveler with a TV, her duplicate, and many more delights and vexations. And just who and what is going with her, and what exactly is her strange obsession with strawberry jam and robots? Find out all this and so much more, perhaps even in the secret universe, and Daisy Goes to the Moon. That's awesome. He has a blurb by Guillermo del Toro when he says, Rick Geary, narrative perfection. So it sounds like it's like the complete like id of a 9-year-old girl going on all these adventures, written and adapted by Rick Geary. Like, this sounds amazing. So there's a title page too, where you see some of the wacky characters that you'll encounter. But yeah, there'll be a review on my channel for the week that the book comes out. So you won't see it till January, but ahead of time, you can pre-order that book and prepare yourself for it, possibly. Mermaid Saga is one of my favorites. That's one I want to read. I think it's only like 2 volumes. I've always wanted to pick that up and read it. I do love horror manga, especially of the stranger types, and also of the shorter series. Manga in general, I don't like. Not that I am against the idea, but I'm more into like one and done, or 2 or 3 volume series. The idea of trying to dive into like this 50 volume manga series is very daunting for me. So yeah, just came back from work, ordering something to eat while I wait to go out. Awesome, Fonzie. Well, thank you for joining us while you wait. If you eat the flesh of a mermaid, you have 1 in 1,000 chance to become immortal. Most become fish monsters. The main character was one of those lucky one. Now she is trying to die and reverse the curse. Reverse the curse. Interesting. I'm glad they're sending you more books. It's a perfect publisher for your taste. I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that. But there's just so many Fantagraphics books that I love and I'm excited about. They really do have a great catalog, and I love to show them off. I've showed off their catalogs on my channel. If you go to, I have a Fantagraphics playlist actually. So if you're watching this and you want to know more about what Fantagraphics is all about, check out my playlist. Anytime I do a Fantagraphics book, I drop it on the playlist. But I always go over the catalogs whenever they release one, which they should be releasing one in the next month or so. I think the next catalog comes out maybe 2 months. Maybe we're a little bit early on that, but so it's always fun. They do everything from they do manga, but they also do like classic comics. They do brand new graphic novels from newer upcoming cartoonists. Just the whole gamut of interesting, well done, good comics. So, hello, Chris. Thank you for joining me, and hello, Near Zero. Thank you for joining me as well. I do have a Discord. I should drop that as well. That link is down in the description below, but we have a Discord where we chat comics throughout the week. Just whenever a random inkling of yours, you want to talk about comics with somebody, you can go to the Discord and drop it in there. We also have different channels for wrestling and movies and TV and those kinds of things. There's James Abel with the link right there, the chat, if you want to click on that to join. So yeah, join that. We've got a pretty good turnout and pretty good discussion now. It's every time I'm going on there, I try to go on there at least once or twice a day and check out what everybody's talking about. And it's starting to get to the point where people are in there and they're not too shy about starting conversations, and you shouldn't be either. I definitely just want a nice, fun, safe space to talk comics and things. So thanks, James, for that chat. Let's share the news about Living the Line and what their new manga is going to be. I don't know if they. Let me see if they have a press release on their website. If not, I'm going to have to go to their Instagram. Let me see. Perfect. Yeah, I think we'll go to the Instagram then. The Instagram route, which I am on Instagram too. If you guys want to follow me, that is also in the description down below. And it's just Taylor Talks Comics. So nice and easy. So I'm trying to pull up the Instagram here. Let's just search Living the Line. Living the Line. All right. And now I'll share my screen. Share screen. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so this is the Living Line. This is the publisher. I have a video showing off a bunch of their books because they sent me some review copies. A lot of which will be highlighted throughout October. They do have a few horror comics they sent me, including Her Frankenstein, UFO Mushroom Invasion. I'm trying to think of what the other one was. I don't know. You'll see some more of their books though. But this was their big announcement yesterday for the next Smudge release. New license announcement for the first time in English. One of the masters of Japanese horror, Koga Shinichi's Man Sect, 1975, to be published as Smudge Volume 3, Living the Line. Humans grow and age. They change. But always we are the same person, the same creature. Not so with insects, whose powers of metamorphosis alter not only their shape and size, but also their very beings. And now, because of one young man's unhealthy obsession with bugs, humans also find themselves transformed into disgusting, decrepit, blood-sucking insects, monsters. Published in 1975, Koga Shinichi's Man Sect is a shonen horror classic by one of the undisputed masters of the genre, swarming with mesmerizingly gnarly imagery and freakish bioevolutionary speculation. Koga here demonstrates why his name is uttered with the same quivering reverence as horror manga legends Mizuki Shiguru, Umez Kazuha, and Ito Junji. Mansect is the third volume of Smudge, a line of vintage horror, occult, and dark fantasy manga, curated and translated by award-winning historian Brian Holmberg. We're super stoked about this one and honored to be publishing the first, if I'm not mistaken, official translation of Koga's manga in English. Licensing it was not a breeze. Thank you for everyone who made it happen. Expected release February 2025. So that is the official announcement there. There's a cover. I don't think they have any. Yeah, it's UFO. Any other interior imagery? Although I wonder. Let's look up Koga Shinichi. I wonder if I look him up on the old Google machine if I can find any of his interior artwork. Koga Shinichi. Finding a lot of covers for things. Oh, that's the Exorcist manga. There's an Exorcist manga he did. That sounds awesome. Oh, Japan Book Hunter shared some of his stuff. Ooh, okay, here we go. So if you're not familiar with Japan Book Hunter, he became kind of famous over here in the States on Cartoonist Kayfabe, and he is I want to say he's a Filipino gentleman who moved over to, I don't have this presenting right, moved over to Japan some time ago. He's fluent in Japanese and English, but he has a YouTube channel, and also he has a store where he sells things. And this is his website, japanbookhunter.com. He ships it from Japan, but he ships it, it's pretty fast, and the shipping is as low as possible as it could be from Japan. But he sells a lot of things in here. It's all in Japanese, but if there's like some sort of art book or artist that you really love and dig, I would highly recommend his website. But he does have a Shinichi Koga volume on here. This is Night is Scary. That cover looks awesome. But he also shows some interiors in here. So let's take a look here. Yeah, it's definitely that classic 70s, 80s manga. Oh, that panel up at the top looks great on the left there. Yeah, this looks awesome. So this is not the same book that Living the Line's doing, but I'm just trying to give you a little preview of what the artwork could look like. I wonder if he has more books on Japan Book Hunter. Let's see. Maybe he has the same one that Living the Line's doing. I'm Scared for My Life. Looks like it's the same cover. Horror comic anthology. Terror, House of Blood. Evil Spirit Fox, Scary Monkey Girl. Oh, he does have it right here. It's called Ghost Insect in Japan, but this is the same book. This is what Living the Line will be publishing right here. So here's some interiors of what you can expect in February when this drops, the third book in the Smudge imprint from Living the Line. Very, very cool. It's sold out on Japan Book Hunter, the Japanese version. This one looks rad, though. Let's take a look at this. Japan Book Hunter is also a great resource because he keeps the sold out stuff on here if he ever gets it. And you can also hit him up on Instagram, and he's called Japan Book Hunter because he literally goes around Japan looking for really cool underground or like not so famous manga. And you can, if you're looking for a certain thing that he can find, he'll find it for you. Yeah, okay. So I want more of this guy's manga translated in English. Hopefully this starts a trend. Maybe Living the Line will get more of these. Awesome. So that's Living the Line. They'll on their third Smudge release after Her Frankenstein, which was the first, and then UFO Mushroom Invasion was the second. They'll be doing a third one called Mansect. All right. And what are you guys talking about? Bum, 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 bum. That Discord invite is invalid. Is that right, James? Can you take a look at that for me? Is that invite link not working? Super producer James, look into that for me. If not, I'll have to change the settings and whatnot. James, I probably need to make you a mod in the Discord as well. I think right now it's just me and Hess. And Hess is the guy that set it up for me originally, which thank you again, Hess, if you're watching. Our chat is blowing up people's phones, and that's good enough. Never joining Discord. Oh, well, that's fine. You don't have to. But I'm thanking you for joining me here, though, Low Hit. You're awesome. The Discord. Okay, yeah. Do a 2000 AD review. I don't think I have any 2000 AD horror stuff to review. I do have this, though, which has a nice horror cover on it. Brendan McCarthy's Judge Dredd. Look at that cover. Brendan McCarthy is one of my favorite 2000 AD artists. Super Laugh Artist, who's in the chat there, is trying to hook me up with some 2000 AD books. Coolest new book I got this week is Final Cut by Charles Burns. Thank you for joining me, Dana. I need to get my hands on that. I'm very, very much excited about Final Cut by Charles Burns. Charles Burns' Black Hole, which is the book I was trying to find earlier for a recommendation. I know I have it somewhere around here, close at hand. I don't think I can find it. But anyways, Black Hole by Charles Burns is my all-time favorite horror comic. I love Charles Burns' work. Anytime he comes out with something new, I have to get my hands on it. So I'm very much excited about Final Cut. I just need to buy it. It looks great, though, and it's getting really great reviews. It was originally released in French, I believe, first. So yeah. What if I told you Berserk was only 3 volumes? Then I would be really excited, probably. So Berserk, I know what Josh is referring to. So this past Monday, this is what Josh is referring to. This past Monday, I made my debut on Omnibros. Omnibros Live. I believe you can find them on YouTube if you look up Omnibus Collectors Network, or just search Omnibros Live. Go to the live tab and you can watch that show. I was on there with Omnidog's Vault, Manga Geekdom, and Comics Guide 101, 3 other YouTubers. Had a lot of fun on there. It was my debut. I've watched Omnibros Live for a number of years, so it was really an honor. It's exciting to be on there. But one of the topics came up was that Berserk, I don't have shelf space for all 14 volumes of the deluxe editions. But Josh, so I've read the first Tankobon. I got the first Tankobon from, I don't know, I bought it back in the day. I think a damaged copy from IST or something for real cheap. And I loved it. And I've always heard that like Berserk really doesn't get going until like the 4th Tankobon, which is like the 2nd deluxe edition. And but I love the first Tankobon so much, I was like, well, I'm ready to go then. If this one is not so great and it doesn't really get going until volume 4. But I haven't dove in yet. But here's the thing, though, is that Dark Horse puts all their manga on Hoopla, and I have Hoopla through my library, so I can read Berserk for free digitally. Digital reading is not my favorite. If I can read physically, that's my preference. But it is one of those things that's loaded up on my iPad to read whenever I am reading, something on my iPad. So usually, most of my iPad comics reading happens when I go on vacation. I'll load up a long series to go and read while I'm on vacation. Maybe Berserk will be the next one. Maybe I just need to go on a trip. Who knows? But it's not 3 volumes, so you're lying to me. I need to read more Ito. You do. I just finished this the other day, and I think it's my favorite Ito book. Junji Ito, the modern master of horror. No Longer Human. This is his manga adaptation of the story No Longer Human, which is a novel by Osamu Dazai. This book was incredible. I was warned about this book and how it deals with a lot of mental health issues and addiction and things. And if you have mental health issues yourself, maybe you shouldn't read this kind of thing. And it can be depressing. But I read this and I absolutely loved it. I think it's my favorite Ito book. I don't know. I probably say that every time I read an Ito book, though. To be honest, he's so good. But yeah. So back to the shelf space thing. I am now in the process of reading a lot of Junji Ito that I've not read via my library. But No Longer Human was great. This does sound interesting. He's talking about Man Sect from Smudge. Equally as cool, it's the newest volume of Fantagraphics EC Library Foul Play and Other Stories by Jack Davis. That book, I got that book in, and it's the last of the EC library that I need to complete the set data. So I will have the great picture that I always like to take of the entire EC artist library together and post it on my Instagram. But also, I'm going to have a video in October showing off each volume of the EC artist library to date, because I do have a video on my channel. I also have an EC Comics playlist. If you're into EC Comics and want to see what video content I've made on EC Comics, there's a playlist for that on my channel. But on my playlist, I did that video a few years ago, but now they've done like 9 or 10 volumes since then. So I need to do an updated video. So on my channel, probably the first week of October, I'm going to do a video on Just Foul Play by Jack Davis, and then I'm going to, since that's like the latest volume and it's horror comics, and Jack Davis is my all-time favorite EC comic artist, and then I'm going to do a video showing off all the volumes. So look forward to that. I'm looking forward to reading Final Cut. I got a hold of it, got it on hold at my library. That's awesome. Any library picking up books like Final Cut by Charles Burns is a good library. There is manga for everything. I forget the name, but there's a series about a dude moving up in the corporate ladder. Yeah, there really is manga for everything. And I think that mentality, that kind of thing is starting to bleed over into Western comics now, which is great. Western comics used to be like that. Not like they didn't have like the mundane or weirdest things. Like they didn't have like, there wasn't like a baseball comic book series or anything like that. But back in the golden age, before the Comics Code Authority and the Senate hearings, and before Frederick Wertham ruined comics, there was comics for everybody. Everybody read comics, kids, grown-ups, housewives back then, like read romance comics. Like romance comics were some of the biggest selling titles. Young Romance? Yeah. Simon and Kirby's Young Romance was selling like 250,000 copies a month or an issue. So it was a big deal. And then the Comics Code came down, killed entire publishers. Like dozens and dozens of publishers went under because they had horror manga or horror comics that they didn't think were appropriate for kids, crime comics that weren't appropriate for kids, yada, yada, yada. The Comics Code Authority got put into place so that the comic book industry could self-police. And then what that did was make all publishers say, we need to make everything appropriate for kids. Nothing can be not appropriate for kids. No comics can be not appropriate for kids. So then all comics got like sanitized. And then what happened there was that the superhero genre emerged as like the one and only genre that people really read in a big way as far as like the mainstream goes. And that has lasted for 50 plus years at this point. There's always been horror comics. There's always been slice of life comics, underground comics. All those things have always existed, but in a major way for the mainstream, it's always been superheroes dominating until over the last 10 years, we've seen things like Raina Telgemeier coming out with stuff for in the YA kind of demographic, which is great. And she's dominated sales charts, selling millions and millions of copies. Dave Pilkey has been dominating with Dogman for younger kids. And then things like horror comics, which is a massive genre as well. I talked about this the other night on OmniPros. I think if you're looking at genres for Western comics of what's popular, I think it's like superheroes is still, for Western comics again, it's still probably number one. When you think of like the actual comic book format, if you're going to say like Dogman and Raina Telgemeier books sell more than superheroes, yes, I understand, but stay with me here. So it's like superheroes is number one, and then I think horror is like number two. It's just there's so many things out there, and I just found Black Hole, and so anyways, what I'm getting at is that manga does have a very diverse subject matter with all their stuff. You can find a manga about any subject, really. Cooking, baseball, slice of life, guys moving up the corporate ladder, horror, sci-fi, superheroes, even everything. And I think comics is starting to get that way too, because in Japan it's always been said like it's not uncommon to find like a rich, well-to-do businessman reading manga on the train. Now take that to America. I don't think you can imagine like a rich billionaire, tycoon guy reading comic books on a bus or airplane or train. Not very common. So I think we're getting to that point though, to where comics aren't just the mainstream or the main viewpoint of what people think of comics when they think about them is not those are for kids. So yes, that's my point on that. That's my little rant about Frederick Wertham and how much I hate him. But here's Black Hole. This is my number one all-time favorite horror comic, Charles Burns' Black Hole. If you're into surreal horror and body horror, and just absolutely magnificent brushwork, it's just an amazing accomplishment in the craft of comic book making. The Discord link in the description did work. Oh, okay. James Abel made a new link. Try this one. Okay. So if you go to the link in the description or this one that James Abel dropped in, those will work. Thank you, James, for figuring that out. And Chris, thank you for joining. If you do, I will say hello to you over there after the show. Comic Book Report, just popping in to say hi. Loved your recent coverage of Spider-Man McFarlane's Artist Edition. Thank you, Comic Book Report. Great YouTube channel. Maybe one of the greatest voices in comic book YouTube. So go subscribe to Comic Book Report. He does a great job over there. Great presentation too of his videos. Definitely has like a cinematic approach to his videos. It's very, very, very nice. So everybody go subscribe to his channel. But thank you for dropping in. And yes, I did do a overview of Spider-Man, the Artist Edition by Todd McFarlane on my channel if you want to check that out. Very awesome book. That one did work, James. Omnibus Collectors YouTube, Omni Rose Live. There we go. There's the link to the channel that I was on Monday if you want to check out one of my appearances on YouTube. And also, while I'm talking about appearances that I am on, or where I'll be appearing on YouTube outside of just here, this Saturday I'll be on OmniDog's Vault on YouTube with Jess Bragg, and we'll be talking about horror comics. So if you're, again, wanting recommendations or wanting to get geared up for the spooky season, because I believe the first day of October is next Tuesday, then get ready, because this Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be on Better Days in the Bat Cave, is the bi-weekly show that Jess does over there on Saturday nights. So I'll be making an appearance there. It's always a fun time talking comics with Jess. One of my favorite people to talk about comics with. So I'm excited to see what he's bringing to the table as well. Jess has one of the reasons why I liked Jess's channel so much before I even met him, I guess, became friends with him, was that I loved his eclectic tastes. He's very much, he grew up during like the Silver Bronze Age, Silver Bronze Age of comics. So he has distinct memories of reading those comics that I love to read now that I wasn't alive for. But also he has no, he's not like one of these elder statesmen in comics where they are kind of curmudgeonly, like comics aren't as good as they used to be. He very much has no prejudice towards newer comics as well. So he's constantly reading newer modern comics as well. So he's got a great mix of tastes, and I like to see what he's always up to in his comic book reading. All of Berserk is on Hoopla. Yes, it is. That's what I said. One Piece is only 3 volumes too. Why do you keep lying to me? It's not. It's like 100 volumes. But One Piece, I have read the first 3 3-in-1s. So the first, I guess, 9 tankobons. So I have read some One Piece, but I read it digitally on the Shonen Jump app. I was talking to my mom recently. I was surprised to learn she used to read a lot of comics as a kid in the 50s. Well, thank you for joining me. Oida Veda? Hopefully I pronounced your name right. Correct me on the pronunciation, please. But yes, isn't that amazing to know that our parents or grandparents read comics, because it used to be just a normal part of life, right? But Frederick Wortham ruined that. I think we need a lot more genres. I think manga doing it so much better since there is so much more. Well, yes, like I said, we're not to the point where manga is yet. I think one of the things holding us back though is that, and what's helping manga is that manga's had a 70 year, about 70-year head start without having prejudice towards comics because they didn't have a Frederick Wortham. Um, if Frederick Wortham in those Senate hearings never happened, then for the last 70 years, think about how many comic books would have come about, especially with all the publishers that got shut down. Literally, there's dozens of publishers disappeared, like almost overnight because of the Senate hearings. Think about all those people. And then here's the thing that I think about too is like not only those comics existing, but the people reading them that would grow up to make comics. Like right now, I think one of the things that I'm excited to see is this next generation of comic book readers and what they come up with when those comic book readers decide to make comics themselves. Like the young girls reading Raina Telgemeier, and that have been reading Raina Telgemeier comics for the last 15 years or so. When they grow up and decide to make comics, what are they going to come up with? Like they're either maybe some more of that same genre, or maybe something different, maybe baseball comics or whatever. And then the kids that grew up on Dogman, like what if they grow up to be wanting to make comics and whatnot? Like what are they going to come up with? Like these kids because think about it now. I don't know. I don't have exact stats here, but I just imagine like 99% of comic book artists or comic book writers today probably grew up on superhero comics, right? Like their first formative years of comic book reading were probably all superhero comics. So they would all go on to have that kind of influence into what they do in comics. Now, not all of them go on to make superhero comics, but they have that kind of influence. So when we have these new readers influenced by something else, like my son is actually a good example because he loves reading comics. He reads comics all the time. He's a super avid reader. Like he reads, like we actually tracked his reading on Goodreads one year and he read over 300 books, and the majority of them are all comics related. He's really into manga right now. He's reading Pokemon manga. But I can't get him into superhero comics. We have read Silver Age superhero comics together. I think his favorite was actually probably Doom Patrol, Silver Age Doom Patrol, which is amazing. But whenever I recommend, because we read together every night too before bed, whenever I recommend superhero comics, he's like, nah, I don't think so. But he'll read every bit of graphic novels that are geared for him as kid, for kids. He'll read manga. He'll read all these other things besides the superhero genre, and he very much likes to draw. He has had a comic book published twice, just one pagers, two different one pagers, but he was published. I have videos on my channel showing off. They're titled like "My Son is a Published Cartoonist," and almost no interest in superheroes. Although I think now that I say that, the first published comic he had did feature superheroes. It was a parody of superheroes, but just like thinking about the mind, like he's not going to grow up saying like I want to go draw Spider-Man or I want to draw Superman. Like he has all these other influences between Dogman and Pokemon and all these other things that are influencing him, especially, and then also just kids of this generation that are his age and a little bit older are the majority of their comics reading is probably manga anyways. So how's that going to influence this next generation? So what I'm talking about is like 20 years from now, the comics that we're getting, I think is going to be a wide variety of different types, and it's something to be really excited about. Raina is a sweetheart. She is an amazing person. She seems that way. I've never met her, but she seems that way. My son loves Raina Telgemeier also. He's read every single one of her comics. Ghosts by Raina Telgemeier is what he always cites as his all-time favorite comic book. I think I have a video on my channel for that. Maybe I think we reviewed that in the Hey Kids Comics playlist, which exists, where my son and I do review comic books. So if you want to check out things that my son is into as far as comics go, but I think we did a video on Ghosts because that is his all-time favorite comic book. It's Raina Telgemeier's Ghosts. But he's read all of her work, including her Babysitter's Club run. He's a huge fan of the Babysitter's Club series as well. Anytime a new volume of that drops, he picks it up. So, the comic book report. There is the comic book report on YouTube and OmniDog's Vault. So go subscribe to the comic book report. Like I said, great presentation, great voice, and also great taste in comics. But OmniDog's Vault is where subscribe to that and hit the bell notification icon. I'll be going live with him on Saturday. Yo, one question. The Savage Land Rogue stuff has never been collected in epic format. I'm not a, you're going to really test me here. What issues were those? Rogue Era X-Men. And I can find this out for you. Marvel Epic Collections. So Savage Land Rogue was in. Oh, is that Jim Lee era? When was Rogue in the Savage Land? 1981, X-Men's 274. Okay, here we go. I can find out your answer. That would be in X-Men Epic Collection Volume. Doesn't exist yet. That will be in X-Men Epic Collection Volume 18. Currently, we only have 17, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So that's the Volume 18 that we're missing, that we don't have yet, Low Hit. So that's not come out yet. Good question, though. Really testing my Google sources here. The Shadow is kind, sir, and I also saw your post about Taschen recently. Did you cover your library of those in a video? I've not covered the entire library yet, but on my most recent Taschen video, where I go over the X-Men volume, at the end of that video, I show off the spines of all of them and talk about what's coming out soon and things. So I guess in a way I did. But I still have more videos to make on Taschen. On my channel, I've only done Silver Surfer, X-Men, and Spider-Man Volume 2. So I still need to do on my channel Fantastic Four, Spider-Man Volume 1, and Avengers. I did do Fantastic Four on the Organic Price Books YouTube channel, but not on my own. Also, is there any Century Collect edition? All is out of print. I don't know about that one. If it's out of print, it's out of print. Paul Jenkins and Lemire. Oh, Paul Jenkins and Lemire era Century? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming they might exist. Probably in thinner trades. When are DC Epic Collections dropping? So that's the DC's Finest line, and I think they're dropping very soon. DC Finest. Trade paperbacks. The first one. Publication date. January, November. So Batman Year 1 and 2, that volume, which is exciting, they actually changed the contents to that. That is going to include every issue of Batman starting from the kind of the relaunch after Crisis on Infinite Earth. So it's going to be Batman 401 through 412, the Batman Annual 11, and Detective Comics 568 through 579. And those issues within those runs include Year 1 and Year 2. That comes out November 5th of this year. Catwoman, starting with the 1988 series, comes out December 17th. I'm just going to go over the ones that are coming out soon. Flash, the Silver Age Flash is coming out November 24th, or November 26th, I'm sorry. And I can't recommend that series enough. Silver Age Flash is amazing. It's one of my favorite Silver Age series. November 19th is Justice League of America, The Bridge Between Earths. It looks like, yeah, it's Silver Age era. Bum, 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 bum. Batman. So Batman's on November 5th. Also coming out the same day, November 5th, is Superman: The Golden Age, which includes the first 31 issues of Superman from the Golden Age. So it looks like November 5th is the first release. Low hit to answer that question. We'll never know what great comics we never got. We might have missed out on some of the best stories because of these hearings. Yes, unfortunately. But we can correct that now. My mom told me she used to read Bullet Man when she was a kid, so she understood my obsession with comics. She liked to read my copies of Doctor Strange. That's awesome. What era of Doctor Strange was that? Um, Dana, not to put an age on you, but I'm just curious what era. Because I love. There's some really good eras of Doctor Strange that I like obviously the Steve Ditko era is amazing. I'm hoping Taschen releases a volume of that because that all of Steve Ditko's Doctor Strange comics would fit in one Taschen volume. I actually sold my Doctor Strange Ditko omnibus kind of in hopes that the Taschen volume would exist one day. But also like Gene Colan's era is amazing as well. I'm a huge Gene Colan fan. Taylor, did you happen to have a copy of Blighted Eye by Glenn Bray? I don't, but I kind of want that book. That's an amazing like coffee table book. Glenn Bray is one of like the premier comic book art collectors, and what Chris is talking about at the Blighted Eye is like this coffee table book of Glenn Bray's collection, essentially him and his wife, and they have all of like the comic book original art that he collected, which is he even has things like Carl Barks original art in there. He has Mad Magazine original art, all the way to like more modern indie stuff as well. There's a great video on the Cartoonist Kayfabe channel going over that book, Chris, if you want a bigger insight into that. 70s Doctor Strange, but she liked the Ditko stuff too. Yeah, 70s era. Was that Gene Colan yet? I think it was. Yeah, I think so. I'm really hoping the DC Finest line will dig deeply into the Silver Age stuff, especially mid 60s Batman and Superman. I agree with that. I have the Silver Age Batman Omnibus Volume 1 and Superman Silver Age Volume 1. Do I have? Actually, yeah. Which I don't think they came out with Volume 2s for. They didn't come out with Silver Age Batman Volume 2, did they? I don't think so. But I agree. So of one that made 60. So I have the stuff before that, but that stuff's like late 50s. So I'm hoping they keep continuing this line because I want more of it. Where's Batman? Batman. No, Batman Silver Age Volume 1's the only one that came out. And Superman as well. But I hope so too. The cool thing with the DC's Finest line is that they've been all encompassing of different eras. They have they're diving deep into the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, Modern Era. So they're kind of all over the place, which is what the Marvel Epic Collections did as well, and I think was what made them successful because they're kind of catering to all these different audiences, and even doing like deeper cut things. Like they have like Jack Cole's Plastic Man, which is amazing. I can't wait to get that volume. It's coming out as a DC's Finest line. And Metamorpho is getting his own volume. Peacemaker, which is like Charlton era. Like those are the ones that I'm most interested in. Like this weirder, wackier stuff of the DC history. But they also modern stuff too. Silver, Bronze Age, Golden Age. Really a good line that hasn't even started yet, but the what they've solicited so far is really promising. I'll check that out. Thanks. What's your interest in the Blighted Eye, Chris? Did you come across this book recently, or do you have it? I've been waiting for Nick Cardy's Aquaman to be collected, and yes, Metamorpho. Is that? I know they announced a Aquaman. Is that what era that is? King of Atlantis. What era of Aquaman did he work on? 1 through 39, which is 62. So not quite then. The Adventures of Alan Ladd, Action Comics, My Greatest Adventure. I'm trying to see if Nick Cardy worked on any of these. Because this is the volume they have of King of Atlantis covers years 1956 to 1962. It does look like the ongoing Aquaman era that Nick Cardy started with issues 1 through 39 started in 62. So that would essentially, I think, would be the next volume of Aquaman. I'm trying to see if he worked on any of these adventure comics. No, I don't think he did. So I think it'd be the next volume. I saw it for a decent price and was wondering what the art looked like. Yeah, check out that video. It's like 1 hour long, I think, on Cartoonist Kayfabe, but they go over a whole extensive look on it. And it's like it's a coffee table book. It does have some like comic book history in there as well, like Glenn Bray talking about his collection and where he got these things, this kind of thing. So it's not just pictures and art. Like there's actually some context included with it, which I love. David, thank you for joining me. Taylor finally made the live chat. Just received Superman Triangle Era Omni. Great stuff. Sadly, no Soup's Silver Age or Bronze Age on Omar's new list. Maybe the DC's finest. Yeah, Omar just dropped his on Imran Condition, who I do social media for. Just dropped his list today of his top 10 most wanted. Dana in the chat appeared on Omar's channel in an interview, talking about Web of Horror, the awesome book that she helped put together for through Indiegogo, but then was published by Fantagraphics. So, but anyways, Omar just dropped his video today, his top 10 most wanted Superman omnibuses. But I'm not surprised by the no Silver Bronze Age, because Omar, he always talks about his DC reading starts with Crisis on Infinite Earths. He has read some stuff before that, but he's not the biggest fan. I think he's doing a Superman Silver Age omnibus overview that he's still working on, because he's still trying to read through that omnibus. First 3 issues of Cardi's Aquaman are in the first volume. So volume 2 might be Cardi. Oh, okay. Okay, good. Awesome. That's an artist that I'm not familiar with, Dana, so I'm glad you put him on my radar. I will be looking for that. I'm very well versed in like Marvel, Atlas era, and Silver Age. DC Silver Age is something that I've just started to dive into over the last couple of years. And I love like Doom Patrol and Legion of Superheroes, Flash, Green Lantern, Superman and Batman. I'm trying to think of other DC Silver Age I've read. Oh, Adam Strange. So I'm always looking for more. I was sad that they didn't not announce, but they came in the catalog a Silver Age Aquaman omnibus that never came to fruition. So I do think I'm going to pick up the Aquaman DC's finest book. Excited for the new Joker movie? I am. I'm not the biggest like comic book adaptation into movie guy. I used to be. I used to have a podcast actually, where my friend Alex and I went through and reviewed. We did like every other week. So every other week we did like the entire MCU from beginning through Infinity War. I think is when we kind of stopped the podcast. Not intentionally, just life got in the way. But in between weeks, we would review like an older comic book movie. It was a lot of fun. I kind of want to bring it back, maybe as a live YouTube show, and bring him on as my co-host, because he's my best friend. We were roommates for a number of years, and we still talk to this day. But anyways, I digress. Over the last few years, I've kind of gone out of like the comic book movie stuff. It just, I don't know. I just rather read comics, I think. But there are a few movies here and there that get me really pumped, and I loved the first Joker movie, and the second one's exciting because Lady Gaga is playing a Harley Quinn, and I think Lady Gaga is super talented, so I'm excited to see what that looks like. And also, I just saw today that Lady Gaga's doing a companion album called Harley Quinn, and it's coming out late September, so that's kind of cool. Panels with Pete. I love the idea of the DC Compact Collections. Going to pick up the Brubaker Cook Catwoman book next week, since I've never read it. Oh, that's a good one. I have the omnibus. Right there. Behind the old witch. But that's a great one. The DC Compact line, I think, is genius. I love it. I love that DC is investing in it almost at a loss. Like, I can't imagine they're making too much profit off these $9.99 collections. But they are older material, so they're not having to pay to get the comic books made by the creators necessarily. I don't know if there's some sort of royalties. Hopefully there is, being paid out to the creators. But they are cheaper to make because they're classic material. But at $9.99, they keep making too much profit. But the idea of it is to be gateway comics, which I always talk about too, is what you need. Putting these DC Compact editions into Walmart's, Targets, Barnes and Noble, putting them into airports, that kind of thing, as a gateway comic for someone to pick up and read, and then hopefully they go and buy more comics. And they've been selling like crazy, so hopefully it's working. And great gift ideas too. I often like to gift comic books to, especially my nieces and nephews. I have a lot of nieces and nephews, so usually for every Christmas, I'll buy each of them a comic book of some format, some kind, and to try to hopefully coax them into wanting to read more comics. But yeah, great gift ideas too. Nick Carty drew the bulk of Silver Age Teen Titans too. Oh, I've not read that actually. They have an omnibus for that as well as the Bronze Age. But I love Teen Titans, but I never read that. I just started my Teen Titans reading with the George Perez, Marv Wolfman era. Always thought it was a bad idea to give the Joker an origin story. Yeah, I mean, I do love the ambiguous kind of nature of Joker's origin story. I just take it as like an Elseworlds tale. I mean, there's also speculation, which I don't know. I've not dove into the speculative rumors and everything, like, so this is not even a spoiler or anything like that. But I've seen people speculate that this isn't even actually the real Joker, that maybe this guy just inspired who becomes the real Joker. I don't know. But yeah, I get that. But also you can view all these things as kind of Elseworlds things. Like, it doesn't have to be, this isn't the definitive Joker origin, right? This could just be one possibility of an origin. Not movies, but there are 2 documentary on Kickstarter: Legend of Kingdom Come by Alex Ross and TMNT Evolution, Mutation, and Reboot. Yes, I heard about both of these. Alex Ross's Kingdom Come, which is chronicling, I think, the behind the scenes of making that very famous, very popular comic that Mark Waid wrote and Alex Ross did all the artwork for. The TMNT one, I think, is a follow-up, though. Isn't that like a sequel to the other documentary they did on Eastman and Laird, which is really great, by the way? I think it's called Turtle Power, if I remember it correctly. How do I make physical comics, not web comics on the internet, like actual real comics? How do you make them? Objective objects. You just put pen to paper, man. Or sorry, I don't know if you're a man. You just put pen to paper. I mean, there's like all kinds of, I'm not a comic book maker myself, so I'm probably not the greatest person to ask. But in this day and age, there are so many different ways to make and publish and distribute your own comics. Like, I can't imagine how hard it was for guys that wanted to make comics back in the 50s and 60s. Because those, you had to move to New York, you had to work with a publisher, you had to do all those things. But now you can make them at home. You can make them on notebook paper. You can make them with, your 11 by 17 Strathmore, like all kinds of stuff. And there's probably just go on YouTube and search how to make comics. I'm sure you're going to find a bunch of stuff. But if you're really interested in making comics as a content creator, one, and I've been a content creator now for, probably 10 years, if you include my podcasting stuff I did. I would just advise you just dive in and do it. Like, anybody that asks me advice for like content creation, like, oh, I want to make a YouTube channel, or I want to do a podcast, don't get so caught up in the, I need this exact piece of equipment, or I need this exact pen, or this exact paper, or anything like that. Just put pen to paper and get to making it. You don't have to, because here's the thing. I can almost guarantee, and this might sound harsh, but I can almost guarantee the first thing you make, whether it be content creation or comic or whatever, is probably going to not be that great. That's when you're getting your feet wet and you're starting to make things. So when people, I'll just, in terms of content creation, and then I guess you can parallel this to comics. But I've had people say like, well, I don't have a microphone, or I don't have a camera, or I don't have this or that. Like, when you first start making content, nobody's gonna be listening or watching. Like, very few people watch my channel anyways. That's a joke, but very people are gonna be watching you at first anyways. So the hardest part of starting to make content is getting your voice and understanding what you're going to talk about and those kinds of things. That's like the important part. The equipment could come later, and that could go as you grow your audience and you learn things. And another thing is, you might buy a super fancy microphone, a super fancy camera, and realize that you hate that camera and you don't like the way it works and you want to buy another one anyways. So I just start making the content any way you can with your phone, with your laptop, with the microphone coming out of the laptop or coming out of your phone, as low budget as possible until you start to understand what you like to work with and start to develop your tools and your talent and then go on from there. So kind of parallel that to comics, I guess. Like, don't worry about getting the exact pen and ink and paper and stuff that everyone tells you need to get. Just grab a pencil and paper and start drawing and then start sketching out ideas. Go from there. That's my advice. Josh is in the chat. He is a working cartoonist. I'll let him also give some advice here. Wish I had a printer. So if you don't have a printer, you don't have to have a printer. You can. There's plenty of websites and stuff too that you send the files off. You can probably go to your public library to scan the images in if you need to, or go to like a FedEx, Kinko's, or any sort of office supply store to scan in your artwork to present those files. And you can send those files to any number of DIY kind of print on demand publishers to print the thing for you. There's a lot of ways to do that. You don't need the printer and scanners yourself, although it is more convenient to have those things, obviously. Michelle Fife made a comic about how to make and publish comics. Haven't read it yet, but that might be helpful. That is, yes, the how to make comics the Copra way. I don't know if I have that here. I might have it here. Let me check. Because I was reading that recently, so it should be in one of these giant stacks. That's that. Yeah, I don't have that. But look at Michelle Fife on Instagram and go to his store, his online store. He has a book called How to Make Comics the Copra Way. And he talks all about distribution and things. Is that it? No, that's not it. Sorry. I have the book somewhere around here. But Michelle Fife makes a great comic called Copra. And he is also probably one of the more successful self-publishers of comics in recent times. He is now working through Image for the collected editions, but he still self-publishes Copra to this day and distributes it himself to his subscribers. Objective, that would be a great pricing for a printer. That would getting okay. No matter how bad the page is, you can always polish it. You can never polish a blank page. Hey, that's great advice right there too. So what Josh is saying is you can always keep working on the art, but if this page says blank and you got nothing to work with. Objective Objects, thanks. Hey, and Objective Objects, thank you for joining me, by the way. And keep us on your journey. Let me know how this is going. I'd like to know updates and things. How your comics making journey is going. So yes, Objective Objects. Josh here is a working cartoonist. He has two volumes of his comic out, and also does a web comic called Bang, Ballad of the Tiger. So he puts it out as a web comic, but also prints it as well. So he's giving you some advice here. Also, when you make things for yourself, nothing can stop you. I have been working on my own comic and just doing a little bit at a time. Also, web comics are a great tool. It's a lower cost and easier to get your stuff out. I send PDFs out to people all the time. So great advice from Josh there. Oh, and here, James Abel with the link is where you can buy. Oh, no, that's where you can read for free on Webtoons, Bang, the Ballad of the Tiger. But if you're wanting physical copies, you can buy it here. Volume 1 and 2 at greathouse.bigcartel.com. Thank you, James, for those links. That's where you can buy Josh Greathouse, who is the one giving you the advice right now, his comics. David Osborne, Hunt a Tank or Enemy Ace for DC's Finest. Probably more realistic to hope for more than an Omni. Yeah, those would be great volumes. I know Hunt a Tank got a DC's Showcase volume back in the day. I don't know if Enemy Ace did or not. But some of those classic DC War comics, I would love to be in DC's Finest. I'll pick those up right away. Glad you are a mod, James. Yes. I just ban people. That's what I have both of you for. Josh, you ban people. James, you send up links. No, nobody gets banned here, right? Nobody is coming into this chat with bad tastes or bad incentive, bad what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know. Intentions, that's the word. I can't believe we're getting a Warlock for Omnibus. Yes, I'm also shocked by that. The Mike Grell era. All right, guys, so that's going to be the show for today. I got to get out of here. Actually, I got to film a video real fast, and then I got to get out of here. Can I ban James? No, you cannot. So while I go through my closing here, put any last comments you want in the chat. Then I'll get to those after my post-amble. I guess it's not a preamble, it's a post-amble. But you can follow me on social media. All those links are down below in the description. You can follow our Discord. The invite link is in the description as well. If you want to chat comics throughout the week with us, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. All throughout October, there'll be a new video, at least one video every single day about horror comics. So if you're in the horror comics mode of October, then you're definitely going to want to dive onto that. But the kickoff to that will be on Omnidog's Vault on YouTube this Saturday, 8 p.m. I'll be on there with Jess Bragg, Omnidog, to kick off the season of Spooktober, the season of Halloween horrors and comics, to talk about that. And yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. Give the video a thumbs up and share it with all your friends. That's one thing you can do to help support the channel too, is to share this, that you watched this channel today, that you enjoyed yourself here, and maybe other people will glom on and subscribe as well. I'm trying to get to 3,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so I need your help. But thank you guys. But my power? No, you can't ban James. There's the Discord. Thank you guys. Everyone, keep reading comics, keep making comics. All of you guys that want to make comics. Can you convince Jess to read Dwellings already? Does he own it? Absolutely. I'll do my best for that. But I feel like that's such a Jess Bragg book. I don't know why he hasn't read it yet. What does he have apprehension to reading it? I don't know. I'll find out later. But yes, I'll try to convince him. Keep reading comics, keep buying comics, keep making comics, keep doing all the things with comics.